Well, we have learned a lot in the last week, and I think this whole Epstein thing has taught us a few things. Maybe people haven't really woken up to it yet, but it's taught us something we didn't quite understand or know before. Before I get into that, welcome back to the Mr. Global channel. Really appreciate you guys. Please like and share if you don't mind. What have we learned this week? We have learned that Congress will stand up to Donald Trump to save themselves. That is basically the only thing we've learned. Now, a lot of people are trying to pass this off as Donald Trump told Republicans in Congress to vote, and they did. That's not what happened. Donald Trump learned that the Republicans were going to overwhelmingly vote to release the Epstein files, so he came out and told them to do it. So it would look like he had some control there, but he had no control over any of that whatsoever. And, it's yet to see what will actually be released. I'm sure it'll be largely, a lot of it won't be released. I don't think we're going to see whatever it is Donald Trump doesn't want us to see. But we learned that Republicans in Congress will defy Donald Trump to save their own skin. And that is a very scary thing because it's the only thing they defied him on. Which means, set aside the Epstein thing, they're perfectly fine with, the country sliding towards authoritarianism. They seem to be perfectly fine with that, as long as they get to go on the ride with Donald Trump, as long as they get to remain in power, as long as they get to be a part of the authoritarian regime, they're fine with that. This is, and I don't think a lot of people are looking at this situation this way, but it's exactly how I'm looking at it. And the problem, the real problem, is the fact that, excuse me, for years, presidents from both parties have been pushing the limits of their power in the executive branch. They've been slowly, for our entire lives, collecting more and more power into the executive branch. And what Donald Trump has done, assuming he leaves office, is he has basically given the next president or the next president or the next president a roadmap. He's drawing them a roadmap, and the next president of the United States, even if they don't have authoritarian tendencies, are going to do things they would have never done had Donald Trump not been the president. They're going to use power they would have never used had Donald Trump not been the president. They're going to overreach more than they ever would have had Donald Trump not been the president. And this is how this works. This is exactly how this works. It doesn't matter who the president is. It doesn't matter what party they're going to be in. You can elect the greatest person ever into the White House. They're going to eventually be in some situation where they are going to overreach their power because they know they can get away with it now. This is probably one of the most dangerous parts of the Trump presidency. The way he has taken over federal agencies, the way he is pushing around the media, the press, He's getting news networks writing him checks, essentially, so he doesn't pull their licenses. He's calling it defamation lawsuits. That's not what it is. It's extortion. And, these agencies and these networks and people in the press and even corporations in the United States fear retaliation so much that they just comply. And so the roadmap, as I said, has been drawn for any future presidents. And this is not normal. Our military leaders sounding the alarms. How many times have you had former military leaders, so many of them, sounding the alarms about how dangerous a president is? We've had them come out in the past, one or two come out, disagree with some policy or something. But if the military becomes an arm of the ruling party, that is authoritarianism 101. And these former military leaders are saying just that. And another very dangerous thing is that Congress is losing ground. It's losing its power. Every day, it's losing a little more and a little more and a little more. The shutdown we just went through is a perfect example of how the executive branch can gain and consolidate more power away from the legislative branch. Every time there's a shutdown, more power ends up in the executive branch. It's a very dangerous precedent. Once this power shifts upward, it's almost impossible to go back down. It's kind of like prices. Power in the executive branch is like prices. Once they go up, you can't hardly get them back down. So, this isn't about left or right. It's about who holds power, when they hold power, and whether any one branch or person should have this much control. And Donald Trump has seized more power than any president probably in our history. And the Republican Party has been willing to give it to him. So, when Congress becomes weak, agencies become political, guardrails get wiped out. What happens when the next crisis comes? The next shutdown, the next emergency. That could be the one that tips us into the thing that the founders and the framers never wanted. And that is a presidency that doesn't answer to anyone. And that is exactly what we have right now. Who does Donald Trump answer to? I mean, seriously. And what's scary about it is how many Republicans just love it. They just think it's great. Oh, it's about time we got a strong man in office. Yeah. Never heard anything good about anyone that was described with the word strong man. So, we're at a crossroads, and one path leads to balance and accountability, and the other path doesn't. It leads to a leader with more power than the Constitution ever intended. And the path that we take is going to depend on whether people just pay attention. And I just feel like so many aren't. So many aren't. Let me know what you think in the comments section. Really appreciate, once again, all my new followers and subscribers. Please like and share. Thank you guys so much. Hope you guys have a great weekend.